The massive crystalline ships drifted through the darkness of space like deadly diamonds. Admiral Kexmol stood in the center of his command bridge, watching the stars through the transparent walls of his flagship. The Eternal Dominion was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Its crystal hull caught the light from distant suns and threw it back in rainbow patterns that had made countless alien species surrender before the first shot was fired. "Sir, we are 3 hours from the human system," reported Commander Velka, his second in command. Her voice carried the same bored tone that had become common among the hegemony fleet officers. After 3,000 years of easy victories, conquest had become routine. Kexmol nodded slowly. 200 of the finest ships in the galaxy followed behind his flagship. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering, powered by zero-point energy cores that could tear holes in reality itself. The fleet had never lost a battle. They had never even been seriously challenged. "What do we know about these humans?" Kexmol asked, though he had read the reports many times already. "A young species, Admiral. They have been in space for less than 300 years. Our scouts report they use chemical rockets to move between planets. Their weapons appear to be simple kinetic projectiles, metal slugs fired by explosive charges." Velka paused to check her datapad. "They have established colonies on 17 worlds, all within 50 light-years of their home system." Kexmol's mandibles clicked together in what passed for laughter among his kind, chemical rockets and metal bullets. It was almost sad how primitive these humans were. The hegemony had conquered species with far more advanced technology, and they refused our generous offer of surrender, he asked. "Yes, Admiral. When our diplomatic vessel approached their outermost colony, the humans politely declined to submit. They said something about sovereignty and the right to self-determination." Velka made a sound of disgust. Primitive concepts from primitive minds. The Admiral walked to the tactical display that showed their fleet's position. Each ship appeared as a blue crystal on the holographic map. They were arranged in the standard conquest formation, overwhelming force designed to break enemy morale before the fighting even began. It had worked on every species they had encountered. "They probably think their little metal ships can fight us," Kexmol mused. "Most young species go through this phase. They see our ships and think they can resist because they do not understand the true power of the hegemony." Around the bridge, junior officers went about their duties with casual efficiency. Some were reviewing star charts. Others monitored the fleet's formation. None of them seemed particularly worried about the coming battle. Why should they be? The hegemony had never lost. "Sir, shall I send the standard surrender demand when we arrive?" asked the communications officer. "Of course. Give them one final chance to see reason. Most species surrender when they get a close look at our fleet." Kexmol returned to his command chair. "If they refuse again, we will demonstrate why resistance is futile." The Eternal Dominion had weapons that could crack planets. Its shields could absorb the energy output of an entire star. The ship was 3 kilometers long and housed 50,000 crew members. It was not just a warship, it was a statement of absolute power. "Admiral, our scouts report that the humans have been unusually active in recent months." Velka continued reading from her reports. "They have been moving ships and supplies throughout their territory. Some of our observers think they might be preparing for war." Kexmol found this amusing. "Let them prepare, it will make no difference. We have seen species with centuries more experience than these humans. We have fought civilizations that could manipulate time and space. All of them fell to the might of the hegemony." The fleet continued its approach toward the human home system. Each ship was a work of art, its crystal hull inscribed with the victories of 3 millennia. The hegemony did not just conquer, they created beauty while doing it. Their ships were as much about showing their superiority as they were about enforcing it. "How many humans are there?" Kexmol asked. "Approximately 12 billion spread across their colonies, with about 8 billion on their homeworld," Velka replied. "Not a large population by galactic standards. Small enough to relocate easily after we conquer them. The humans might make decent workers once they accept hegemony rule." Kexmol had planned the conquest of dozens of species. The process was always the same. Overwhelming display of force, brief resistance, surrender, integration into the empire. Within a generation, the conquered species usually forgot they had ever been free. The bridge grew quiet as the fleet prepared for the final approach. Stars wheeled slowly past the crystal walls. In the distance, a small yellow sun grew brighter. Somewhere around that sun, the humans waited with their primitive chemical rockets and metal bullets. Kexmol smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Another species would learn the price of defying the hegemony. Another world would be added to their vast empire. It would be over quickly, like it always was. The Admiral had no way of knowing that everything he believed about war, about conquest, and about the nature of resistance was about to change forever. Captain Jin was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming throughout the Prometheus. The human heavy cruiser had been on routine patrol at the edge of the solar system, checking mining stations and escorting supply convoys. It was supposed to be a quiet assignment. "Captain, to the bridge!" Lieutenant Park's voice crackled over the ship's communication system. Jin could hear the tension in her voice even through the static. Jin ran through the corridors of his ship, past crew members who were already moving to their battle stations. The Prometheus was not the largest ship in the human fleet, but it was fast and well armed. More importantly, it was crewed by people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. "Report!" Jin shouted as he burst onto the bridge. "Sir, we have 200 unknown contacts dropping out of hyperspace at Grid 77 Alpha," Park said from her sensor station. "They're big, Captain. Really big. The largest one is reading as 3 kilometers long." Jin looked at the main display screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. The alien ships were beautiful in a terrifying way. They looked like they were made of crystal and light. Even from this distance, he could see they were far more advanced than anything humans had ever built. "Are they responding to our hails?" Jin asked. "Yes, sir. They're demanding our immediate surrender. They want us to submit to something called the Vorthak hegemony." Park's fingers flew over her controls. "They're also demanding tribute payments and the location of all our colonies." Jin sat down in his command chair and studied the tactical display. 200 ships against one. The smart thing to do would be to run, send a warning to Earth, and get out of range before the aliens could catch them. That was what any reasonable captain would do. But Jin had not joined the space fleet to be reasonable. "Open a channel," he ordered. "Channel open, sir." Jin cleared his throat and spoke in his calmest voice. "This is Captain Jin of the Terran colonial ship Prometheus. You have entered human space without permission. Identify yourselves and state your intentions, or leave immediately." The alien response came quickly. The voice was translated by the ship's computer, but Jin could still hear the arrogance behind the words. "Primitive creatures, you will surrender immediately or be destroyed. The Vorthak hegemony claims this system and all who dwell within it. Submit now, and your deaths will be quick." Around the bridge, Jin's crew looked at him expectantly. These were people he had served with for 5 years. They trusted him completely. More importantly, they knew exactly what they had trained for. "Lieutenant Park, are our stealth systems online?" "Yes, sir. Full stealth capability available." "Good. Sergeant Lee, are the weapons loaded?" "All tubes loaded with Mark 7 armor piercing." "Torpedoes, sir." "Railguns charged and ready." Jin smiled. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitives using chemical rockets and metal bullets. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Signal the fleet," Jin ordered. "Tell them we have contact with hostile aliens. Send them everything our sensors have recorded." He paused and looked around the bridge. "Then we show these hegemony bullies what humans do when someone threatens our home." The Prometheus moved forward toward the massive alien fleet. To Admiral Kexmol on his crystal flagship, it must have looked like suicide. One small human ship charging toward 200 advanced alien vessels. The aliens probably thought the humans had gone insane. Jin watched the range counter tick down. 5,000 kilometers, 4,000, 3,000. The alien ships were not even bothering to move into defensive positions. They were so confident that they barely seemed to notice the approaching human vessel. "Stealth systems active," Park reported. "We're invisible to their sensors now." The Prometheus vanished from the alien displays just as Jin had hoped. The human ship had been designed from the ground up to fight enemies with energy-based sensors. Every surface was coated with materials that absorbed scanner beams. The ship's engines were shielded to hide their heat signature. Even the hull was shaped to scatter detection signals. "Target the 3 ships on the left flank," Jin ordered. "Fire all tubes, rapid sequence." The Prometheus launched 12 torpedoes in 4 seconds. The weapons streaked toward their targets, each one guided by sensors that had been specifically designed to penetrate alien energy shields. The torpedoes were not simple metal slugs. They were sophisticated missiles with adaptive warheads that could punch through almost any defense. The first alien ship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. The second ship tried to turn away, but 2 torpedoes caught it in the engine section and tore it apart. The third ship managed to raise its shields, but the human weapons cut through them like they were not even there. "Direct hits on all targets," Lee shouted. 3 enemy ships destroyed. But Jin was not finished. "Railguns fire at will." The Prometheus opened up with its main guns, sending streams of accelerated metal into the alien formation. The railgun projectiles moved so fast that the aliens could not track them. Each shot hit with the force of a small nuclear weapon. Then, before the aliens could respond, the Prometheus vanished again into the darkness between stars, leaving behind 3 burning wrecks and 200 very confused aliens. Admiral Zhou stared at his tactical display in complete shock. In 30 seconds, the humans had done something no enemy had ever managed to do. They had hurt the hegemony fleet. Admiral Zhou had not slept in 3 days. The bridge of the eternal dominion felt like a tomb as he stared at the tactical display showing the scattered remains of his once mighty fleet. In 72 hours, the humans had destroyed 18 ships and damaged 30 more. His perfect formation was now a broken mess of vessels trying desperately to stay together. "Sir, we lost another escort ship," Commander Velka reported, her voice hollow with exhaustion. The humans hit the crystal spear while it was refueling from the supply convoy. The attack lasted less than 2 minutes. Zhou's mandibles clicked together in frustration. These were not the primitive humans his scouts had described. These were predators who hunted his ships like wild animals stalking prey. Every time his forces tried to advance deeper into the human system, the attacks came harder and faster. "How?" Zhou demanded. "How are they doing this? Our sensors show empty space, then suddenly human ships appear, attack, and vanish again. It should be impossible." On the main screen, wreckage from the latest attack drifted past in slow motion. The human weapons had torn through hegemony shields like they were made of paper, metal projectiles that somehow accelerated after being fired, missiles that burrowed through energy barriers that had protected the fleet for centuries. Captain Lee sat in the command chair of his destroyer, Shadow Strike, watching the alien formation through his ship's advanced sensors. Around him, his crew worked in silent efficiency. They had been hunting the hegemony fleet for 3 days, and every attack had been perfect. "Target identified," reported his weapons officer. "Large supply ship, lightly defended, grid position 4 Alpha 7. Lee nodded. The aliens were trying to keep their fleet supplied, but every convoy was an opportunity. The humans had studied hegemony tactics for decades through intercepted communications and captured technology from other species. They knew exactly how these crystal ships operated. "Pack formation," Lee ordered into his communicator. "All wolves converge on the target. Hunt pattern 7. Around the solar system, 5 other human destroyers received the message and began moving toward the alien supply convoy. The ships were painted black and designed to be invisible to energy-based sensors. Each one carried weapons specifically built to kill ships like the ones the hegemony flew. The attack came from 6 directions at once. The alien escort ships never had a chance to respond before human torpedoes ripped them apart. The supply vessel tried to run, but Captain Young's destroyer was waiting for it. The ship exploded in a fireball that could be seen from 3 million kilometers away. "Another successful hunt," Lee said quietly. "Pack scatter, return to hunting positions." The human ships vanished back into the darkness, leaving behind burning wreckage and more confusion for the hegemony fleet. Commander Hana stood in the cargo bay of the disabled human corvette Defiant, watching as hegemony boarding troops examined her ship's interior. The aliens moved carefully through the corridors, their energy weapons ready, but what they found made them stop and stare. The walls were covered with armor that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Computer systems that looked nothing like anything in their databases, weapon ports that were built into the ship's hull in ways that made no tactical sense according to hegemony engineering principles. "This is not possible," the alien boarding commander said through his translator. "These weapons, they are designed specifically to penetrate our shield frequencies. How could a primitive species know our defensive capabilities?" Hannah smiled from where she sat with her hands bound. "You really don't understand, do you? We've been watching you for 50 years. Every battle you fought, every ship you destroyed, every species you conquered. We studied all of it." The alien commander approached her carefully. "You are lying. Your species has been in space for less than 3 centuries. And we spent most of that time getting ready for you," Hannah replied. "Did you really think you were the only ones out here? Every species you've defeated sent out warning signals before they died. We listened to all of them." The boarding party continued their examination of the human ship. What they found in the engine room made their blood run cold. The human vessel did not just use stealth technology, it was built around it. Every system was designed to hide from the exact type of sensors the hegemony used. "Sir," one of the alien technicians called out, "these armor plates and they absorb energy weapon fire and convert it to power for their own systems. And these missile launchers, they are specifically calibrated to punch through our shield harmonics." The boarding commander felt a chill run down his spine. This was not an exploration ship that had been converted for war. This was a vessel that had been designed from the ground up to kill hegemony ships. Every bolt, every wire, every piece of equipment had one purpose: to fight enemies exactly like them. Back on the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Kexmol received the boarding party's report with growing horror. The humans had not just been preparing for war. They had been preparing specifically for war against the hegemony. Somehow impossibly, this young species had spent decades studying their enemies and building weapons to counter every advantage the Crystal Fleet possessed. "Sir," Commander Velka said quietly, "perhaps we should consider withdrawing. We have never faced an enemy like this." Kexmol looked at the tactical display showing his scattered, damaged fleet. In 3,000 years of conquest, the hegemony had never retreated from battle. But then again, they had never fought humans before. The hunt was far from over, and for the first time in his long career, Admiral Kexmol was beginning to understand what it felt like to be the prey. Commander Hannah stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable as it slowly materialized out of empty space directly in front of the hegemony flagship. The massive human vessel had been hiding in the asteroid belt for 6 hours, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal itself. Now, as its stealth systems powered down, the true size of the ship became visible to the alien fleet. Admiral Kexmol stared at his main display in complete shock. The human battleship was enormous, nearly as large as his own flagship, but built completely differently. Where hegemony ships were elegant crystal spires, this human vessel looked like a floating fortress. Its hull was covered in weapon ports, sensor arrays, and armor plating that seemed to shift and move like living metal. How is this possible?" Kexmol whispered. His sensors had shown empty space just moments before. Now a ship the size of a small city hung in front of him, its weapons trained on his bridge. Hannah activated the communication system, and her voice carried clearly across the void to the alien commander. "Admiral Kexmol, I am Commander Hannah of the Terran Defense Fleet. I believe it is time we had an honest conversation." The alien admiral's translator worked frantically to convert his response. You have been hiding that ship from our sensors this entire time." "This ship and about 200 others," Hannah replied calmly. "We have been watching your fleet since you entered our system. Every move you made, every tactic you tried, every formation you flew. We have been studying all of it." Around the solar system, more human signatures began appearing on hegemony sensors. Ships that had been invisible suddenly became visible as their stealth systems powered down. Not just warships, but converted mining vessels, research stations, cargo haulers, and civilian transports. All of them were armed and all of them were moving into attack positions. "This is impossible," Kexmol said. "Our intelligence report said you were primitive. Chemical rockets and metal bullets. How do you have technology that can hide entire fleets from our sensors? Hana walked to the front of her bridge, where the main display showed the confused alien fleet. Admiral, your intelligence was 50 years out of date. We have been expecting you for a very long time. Lieutenant Kim at the tactical station began displaying images on the communication channel. Pictures of hegemony ships attacking other species, recordings of alien surrender demands, technical specifications of crystal hull construction and zero-point energy systems. We detected your radio signals when our species first reached space, Hana continued. We listened to the death screams of 17 different civilizations as your empire destroyed them. Each species that fell sent out warning signals before they died. We received all of them. Kexmol felt his world beginning to collapse around him. You have been preparing for us specifically? Every human space station, every colony ship, every research vessel built in the last century has had one primary purpose: to fight the Vorthak hegemony, Hana said. While you were conquering unprepared civilizations, we were analyzing your weaknesses. The images on the display changed to show human shipyards and weapon testing facilities, massive construction projects hidden in asteroid belts, research stations dedicated to studying captured hegemony technology, entire human colonies that existed only to support the military build-up. Our stealth systems are specifically designed to hide from your energy-based sensors, Hana explained. Our weapons are built to penetrate the exact shield frequencies you use. Our armor absorbs energy weapon fire and converts it to power our own systems. Every aspect of human space technology exists to counter your advantages. Captain Park, monitoring communications from the human destroyer, Swift Hunter added, her voice to the conversation. We even studied the psychology of your species, Admiral. We know how you think, how you fight, how you make tactical decisions. Your entire approach to warfare is based on overwhelming technological superiority against unprepared enemies. But we were prepared, Hana said. We have been preparing for this battle since before you knew we existed. On the tactical display, hundreds of human ships continued to appear throughout the system. The hegemony fleet, which had seemed so massive and powerful when it arrived, now looked small and vulnerable, surrounded by enemies that had materialized from nowhere. Your species builds beautiful ships, Hana continued, works of art that inspire fear and awe in primitive civilizations, but beauty is not useful in battle. Our ships are ugly, Admiral. They are built for one purpose only: to kill ships exactly like yours. Kexmol looked around his crystal bridge at his terrified crew. For 3,000 years, the hegemony had never faced an enemy that was ready for them. Every species they had conquered had been caught by surprise, unprepared for the advanced technology and overwhelming force of the Crystal Fleet. We are not unprepared, Hana said, as if reading his thoughts. We are not surprised. We are not afraid. We have spent 50 years getting ready for this moment, and now you are going to learn what happens when you threaten a species that has had time to prepare. The human battleship's weapon systems powered up with a sound that could be heard even through the vacuum of space. Around the system, hundreds of other human vessels did the same. The hegemony fleet was surrounded, outgunned and facing an enemy that knew their every weakness. The question now, Admiral, Hana said quietly, is whether you are smart enough to surrender before we show you exactly how well we prepared for this war. The battle for Earth began when Admiral Kexmol made the biggest mistake of his long military career. Instead of listening to Commander Hana's offer to discuss surrender, he ordered his fleet to attack. The crystal ships of the hegemony opened fire with their most powerful weapons, sending streams of energy toward the human battleship, Indomitable. Hana watched calmly as the alien energy beams struck her ship's hull and simply disappeared. The human armor absorbed the energy and fed it directly into the ship's power systems. Her weapons charged faster, her shields grew stronger, and her engines ran hotter. The hegemony's most devastating attack had just made her ship more dangerous. All units execute Battle Plan Omega, Hana said into her communicator. Show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. The response was immediate and terrifying. Throughout the solar system, human ships that had been hiding in asteroid belts behind moons and in the shadows of planets suddenly revealed themselves. But these were not just military vessels. Converted mining ships with massive drilling equipment now turned those tools into weapons. Research stations deployed experimental beam weapons that cut through crystal hulls like hot knives through butter. Captain Young's converted cargo hauler Iron Mountain rammed directly into the P side of a hegemony cruiser. The human ship's reinforced hull crushed the elegant crystal structure, and both vessels exploded in a fireball that lit up the darkness. But Young's sacrifice allowed 3 human destroyers to slip past the alien defensive line and attack the main formation. "Sir, they are not fighting like any civilized species," Commander Velka screamed over the sound of explosions rocking the Eternal Dominion. "They are using their own ships as weapons." Admiral Kexmol watched in horror as human crews deliberately flew their damaged vessels into hegemony formations. When a human ship was too badly hurt to continue fighting, its crew would point it at the nearest alien target and activate the engines at full power. Every human ship became a potential missile. Captain Lee's destroyer pack moved through the battle like sharks through a school of fish. The human ships coordinated their attacks with perfect precision, as if the entire species shared one mind. When Lee's own ship lost its main engines, he used the remaining power to launch every torpedo he had, then ordered his crew to abandon ship before flying it directly into a hegemony battlecruiser. "They fight without fear," Kexmol whispered. "How can an entire species fight without fear?" The answer came from Commander Park, whose voice reached the alien flagship through the communication system. "Because we are fighting for our home, Admiral. Every human in this system knows that if we lose, our species dies. There is nothing more dangerous than people defending their families." The Eternal Dominion shuddered as human weapons tore through its crystal hull. These were not the simple metal bullets the hegemony intelligence had described. Human railguns fired projectiles that accelerated after leaving the barrel, guided by tiny computers that adjusted their course to hit the most vulnerable spots on alien ships. Captain Bock's stealth frigates appeared inside the hegemony formation, having somehow passed through the alien shields without being detected. They opened fire at point-blank range, their weapons designed specifically to penetrate crystal armor from the inside. 3 massive hegemony ships exploded before anyone realized the human vessels were there. "Admiral, we have lost 60% of our fleet," Velka reported. "Our shields cannot stop their weapons, our sensors cannot track their ships, and our weapons only make them stronger." Kexmol looked at his tactical display and saw the impossible. His mighty fleet, which had conquered countless worlds, was being systematically destroyed by enemies that appeared from nowhere, struck with perfect precision, and vanished before his forces could respond. The humans fought with a coordination that spoke of centuries of preparation and a ruthlessness that came from defending their only home. The Indomitable moved closer to the hegemony flagship, its massive weapons trained on Kexamol's bridge. Around it, smaller human ships darted between the crystal vessels like deadly insects, each one striking at weak points that should have been impossible for them to know about. "How?" Kexamol demanded over the communication channel. "How do you know exactly where to hit us?" Commander Hana's voice came back clear and cold. "Because we have been studying your battles for 50 years, Admiral. We know every weakness in your technology, every flaw in your tactics, every mistake your species makes in combat. We built our entire civilization around one simple goal, being ready to kill anyone who threatened Earth. The battle raged for 6 hours, but the outcome was decided in the first 30 minutes. The hegemony fleet, designed to intimidate primitive species into surrender, found itself fighting an enemy that had spent decades preparing for exactly this kind of conflict. Human weapons cut through crystal hulls, human ships appeared from impossible angles, and human crews fought with a desperation that no hegemony officer could understand. When it was over, only 17 alien ships remained out of the 200 that had entered the system. Admiral Kexmol's flagship was crippled, its beautiful crystal structure cracked and bleeding atmosphere into space. Around Earth, the wreckage of his once mighty fleet drifted in slowly expanding clouds of debris. "Admiral," Hana's voice carried clearly through the silence, "I suggest you take your remaining ships and leave. Tell your empire that humans are not to be disturbed. If you ever come back, we will be even more ready for you." Kexmol managed one final transmission to Hegemony High Command before his fleet jumped to hyperspace. "Mark human space as forbidden territory. Do not approach. Do not investigate. Do not let them know we still exist. Humans should not have ships like that. No species should. We have awakened something that could destroy us all." The surviving Hegemony vessels fled into the darkness, carrying with them the knowledge that had shattered 3,000 years of imperial confidence. For the first time in their history, the mighty Hegemony had learned what it meant to be afraid.